Section A. Question 1. A. Define the process represented by the letter I. Answer: respiration, specifically cellular respiration. It is the biochemical process by which living cells break down glucose molecules to release energy in the form of ATP. B. Identify one process in Figure 2 which represents 1. A catabolic process, I. Respiration, as it involves breaking down glucose to release energy. 2. An anabolic process, any of the following: C. Protein synthesis, D. Sucrose synthesis, E. Lipid fat synthesis, F. Starch synthesis, G. Cellulose synthesis, or H. Nucleic acid synthesis. Choosing one, e.g., F or C, is sufficient. C. If this fate of glucose was in the human body. 1. Identify two processes from Figure 2 which would take place. C. Synthesis of amino acids and proteins. E. Synthesis of fats and oils. I. Respiration to produce energy. H. Synthesis of nucleic acids. Any two of the above. 2. State the form in which the glucose would be stored. Answer: glycogen. D. Name two industrial applications of process I. Respiration or fermentation. Baking industry, production of bread using yeast, where anaerobic respiration produces carbon dioxide, causing dough to rise. Brewing industry, production of alcoholic beverages like beer and wine via alcoholic fermentation. Biogas production, vinegar manufacturing. Alternative answers. Question 2. A. From Figure 2.1, identify the substances which enters the plant by 1. Osmosis, water. 2. Active transport, nitrates and potassium. 3. Diffusion, oxygen. B. Figure 2.2 is a graph showing the effect of pH on the rate of enzyme-controlled reactions N and O. 1. What term is given to the parts labeled X and Y in the graph? Answer: optimum pH. 2. Which reaction is under acidic conditions? Answer: reaction N. Its optimum activity is at pH 4, which is acidic. 3. Which reaction could only be for a protein food? Give a reason for your answer. Reaction N. Reason: reaction N works best in highly acidic conditions, pH 4, which mirrors the action of protease enzymes like pepsin in the stomach that break down proteins. Alternatively, reaction O represents an enzyme working in alkaline conditions, pH 11, like intestinal proteases, e.g., trypsin. Note: either can be a protease, but N explicitly points to gastric digestion environment. C. Explain the role of enzymes in metabolism. Answer: enzymes function as biological catalysts. They speed up the rate of metabolic, chemical, reactions in living organisms by lowering the activation energy required for the reactions to occur, without being consumed or altered in the process. Question 3. A. Complete Table 2 by filling in the spaces. 1. Iodine solution. 2. Lipids, fats and oils. 3. Fats or lipids are present. 4. Color change from blue to purple or violet and mauve. 2. Which nutrient in the table would cause kwashiorkor if lacking in the human body? Answer: protein. 3. Name a nutrient not in the table which helps to prevent constipation. Answer: dietary fiber, roughage. B. State two deficiency diseases in plants. Chlorosis, yellowing of leaves due to lack of magnesium or nitrogen. Stunted growth, due to lack of nitrogen or phosphorus. Question 4. A. Using letters classify the following organisms in Figure 1.0. Angiosperm, G. The flowering tree. Reptile, F. Lizard, chameleon on the branch. Fungi, E. Mushroom, emascit. B. What type of nutrition is carried out by organisms E and H? Organism E. Mushroom saprophytic nutrition or heterotrophic decomposer. Organism H. Green plant shrub autotrophic nutrition or holophytic photosynthetic. C. State two differences between the cells found in organisms G and H. Note: organism G is a woody angiosperm tree, and H is a herbaceous plant shrub. However, if G represents a structural wood bark or animal tissue mistakenly, let's treat G as a plant and look at the standard plant animal or plant structure cell differences. Cells of G, if animal or bird nearby is implied, contain no cell wall, whereas H has a cellulose cell wall. If comparing G, tree stem tissue, vs H, green-leafed shrub cells of H contain chloroplasts for photosynthesis, while the structural bark stem cells of G lack chloroplasts. D. Construct a food chain using organisms found in Figure 1.0. Answer: Organism H, green plant, / right arrow grasshopper or right arrow bird. Question 5. A. I. Name tissue A. Answer: Palisade mesophyll tissue. 2. What is tissue D? Answer: Ciliate epithelium, or ciliate columnar epithelial tissue. 3. Where do you find tissues C and D? Tissue C, in the lamina, blade, of a plant leaf. Tissue D, in the trachea, windpipe, bronchi, or oviduct, fallopian tube, of a mammal. B. Describe how the tissues C and D are adapted to their functions. Tissue C, leaf mesophyll layer *. It contains tightly packed palisade cells at the top filled with numerous chloroplasts to maximize light absorption for photosynthesis. It has loose spongy mesophyll cells below with large intercellular air spaces to allow rapid gas exchange CO2 and O2. Tissue D, ciliate epithelium. It possesses hair-like projections called cilia that beat rhythmically to sweep mucus, trap dust particles, and microbes away from the lungs, or move an egg along the oviduct. Contains goblet cells that secrete mucus to trap dust and pathogens. Question 6. Leaf adaptation for photosynthesis. The internal structures of a leaf are highly specialized for maximizing photosynthesis. Upper epidermis, transparent layer that allows maximum light to pass through to the photosynthetic cells below. It is covered by a waxy cuticle that reduces water loss. Palisade mesophyll, positioned directly beneath the upper epidermis, cells are vertically elongated and packed with a high density of chloroplasts to capture maximum sunlight. Spongy mesophyll contains loosely arranged cells with large air spaces, allowing efficient diffusion of carbon dioxide into cells and oxygen out of them. Vascular bundles, xylem and phloem xylem vessels bring water and mineral ions from roots to the leaf cells for photosynthesis. Phloem translocates synthesized sugars away to other parts of the plant. Stomata and guard cells, located mostly on the lower epidermis, guard cells open and close stomata to regulate the entry of \text CO_2 and minimize water loss via transpiration. Question 7. A. Gaseous exchange in green plants during 1. Daytime, the rate of photosynthesis is higher than the rate of respiration. Net gas exchange involves taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen through the stomata. 2. Nighttime, photosynthesis stops due to the absence of light, while respiration continues. Net gas exchange involves taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. B. Industrial application of respiration using named organisms. Yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, used in the brewing industry for alcoholic fermentation, where glucose is broken down anaerobically to produce ethanol, alcohol, and carbon dioxide. Also used in the baking industry, where the produced \text CO_2 gas forms bubbles causing dough to rise. Lactobacillus bacteria, used in the dairy industry to ferment lactose sugar in milk into lactic acid, producing yogurt and cheese. C. How gum disease is brought about. Gum disease, periodontitis gingivitis, begins when food particles, sugars, and bacteria form a sticky film called plaque on the teeth. If not removed by brushing, bacteria produce acids and toxins that irritate and inflame the gums, breaking down the supporting tissue and leading to bleeding, receding gums, and tooth loss. Question 8. A. Compare and contrast nutrition in a guava plant and Rhizopus fungus. Similarities, both require organic nutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, for energy and survival, and both absorb dissolved nutrients at a cellular level. Differences. The guava plant is an autotroph. It manufactures its own food via photosynthesis using sunlight, chlorophyll, \text CO_2, and water. Rhizopus is a heterotroph, saprophytic fungus. It cannot make its own food. It secretes extracellular enzymes onto dead organic matter to digest it externally and then absorbs the soluble products. B. Importance of saprophytic nutrition to the environment. It acts as a natural decomposer system. Saprophytes break down complex organic matter from dead plants and animals into simpler inorganic nutrients, recycling essential elements like nitrogen, carbon, and phosphorus back into the soil and atmosphere to maintain soil fertility and ecosystem balance. C. Digestion of food in the mouth. Mechanical digestion, teeth chew, grind, and cut food into smaller pieces, increasing its surface area for enzymatic action. The tongue rolls food into a lubricated bolus. Chemical digestion, salivary glands secrete saliva containing the enzyme salivary amylase, ptyalin, which breaks down complex starch molecules into simpler reducing sugars, maltose, under optimal neutral to alkaline pH conditions. Question 9. A. Explain how leaves are adapted to carry out photosynthesis. Refer to the structural adaptations in question 6, broad flat surface area, thin profile for short diffusion path, presence of stomata, transparent cuticle, and specialized palisade layer. B. How a plant gets and uses. 1. Nitrogen, absorbed from the soil via root hair cells by active transport in the form of nitrate ions, \text, NO_3 It is used to synthesize amino acids, proteins, and nucleic acids necessary for cell growth and division. 2. Magnesium, absorbed from the soil as magnesium ions, \text, mg, 2+. It is a structural constituent core of the chlorophyll molecule. Without it, plants develop chlorosis and cannot capture light energy. C. Effect of pH and substrate concentration on enzyme activity. pH. Every enzyme has an optimum pH where it functions at its highest rate. Deviations too far below or above this optimum value alter the ionic charges on the enzyme's active site, causing it to change shape and become denatured, stopping activity. Substrate concentration. As substrate concentration increases, the rate of reaction increases because more enzyme-substrate complexes can form. However, a plateau point is reached when all enzyme active sites become fully saturated. At this stage, any further increase in substrate concentration will not alter the rate. Question 10. A. Ways a farmer would increase the rate of photosynthesis in a greenhouse. Artificial lighting, extending light duration or intensity using specialized growth lamps. Carbon dioxide enrichment, burning small amounts of paraffin or releasing compressed \text, CO_2 gas to elevate levels inside. Temperature control, utilizing heaters or automated vents to maintain the temperature at the optimum level for plant enzymes. B. Why a bean plant will not produce seeds unless photosynthesis exceeds respiration. Respiration consumes glucose to meet the daily energy requirements of the plant. Seeds require large amounts of stored organic nutrients, like starch and proteins, to develop fully. If the rate of photosynthesis is equal to or less than respiration, all manufactured glucose is immediately broken down for survival, leaving no excess sugars to be translocated and converted into storage reserves for seed production. Question 11. A. Describe the process of water uptake by a plant. The soil solution typically has a higher water potential than the cytoplasm of root hair cells. Water enters the root hair cells down a water potential gradient via osmosis through the selectively permeable cell membrane. Once inside, water moves across the root cortex cells cell by cell, via apoplast, symplast, or vacuolar pathways, until it reaches the xylem vessels, where it is drawn upwards to the leaves by transpirational pull. B. Effect of flooding with untreated soil water on. 1. Soil. It decreases soil oxygen levels by waterlogging the air spaces, encouraging anaerobic conditions and denitrification. It also alters soil pH and introduces heavy organic loads, toxins, and high salt concentrations. 2. Crops. High salt solute concentrations in the soil water lower the soil's water potential below that of the roots, causing water to move out of the plants via exosmosis, leading to plasmolysis, wilting, and crop death. Additionally, pathogens can contaminate crops. Question 12. A. Process and conditions for oxygen release process, photosynthesis, specifically photolysis of water, environmental conditions, high light intensity, optimal temperature, and adequate water supply. B. Why plants need water. It acts as a raw material reactant in photosynthesis. It serves as a solvent to transport dissolved minerals up the xylem and sugars down the phloem. It maintains cell turgidity, providing mechanical support to keep non-woody plants upright. It is used for cooling the plant via evaporation during transpiration. Question 13. A. The meaning of photosynthesis. It is the metabolic process by which green plants and other autotrophic organisms manufacture carbohydrates, glucose, from carbon dioxide and water using light energy absorbed by chlorophyll. 2. Equation, same as equation 12.a.2. B. Distribution of products. The products of photosynthesis, mainly converted into soluble sucrose, are transported away from the leaf source to other parts of the plant, sinks like roots, fruits, and growing tips, through the phloem tissue by an energy-acquiring process called translocation. C. How photosynthesis benefits. 1. The caterpillar. It benefits directly as a primary consumer, herbivore, by feeding on the leaves, obtaining the chemical energy stored in the plant tissues. 2. A bird of prey. It benefits indirectly as a secondary tertiary consumer. The bird eats herbivores, like caterpillars or rodents, that rely on plants, tracing its entire energy chain back to the primary productivity initiated by photosynthesis.